Hello, everybody, and welcome to, like I said at the beginning, book bouquet, although we called it that, but we're only making one rose. You can see it on my screen here. My name is Laurel. I work in Medford Teen and in circulation, so sometimes you'll see me downstairs at the front desk. And yeah, I'm going to show you how to make them. So if everybody has their kit, in your kits, you should have 5 sheets of random book paper. You will only need 4 sheets. I just included one extra in case, something happens. I'm going to now pin the one that is on my hand so that you can see that. So now you should all be looking at my hands. Excuse my nails. I didn't have time to paint them before this. Okay, so like I said, you should have the pieces of book paper. And then there should have been 2 rock candy sticks in your bag as well, a glue stick, and then there should be a little container with some tacky glue in it, as well as a toothpick to kind of scoop it out, and then a pair of scissors. So the first thing you're going to do is you're starting with a full page here, and you're going to make them into squares. So by doing that, you fold a little triangle like that. And you're going to do that for all 4 of your sheets. They don't have to be super perfect. So yeah, fold your last one in here. Okay, so now you have your 4 sheets that are folded into squares. Now you're just going to cut this extra bit off here so that it becomes a square like the ones that Pat has. And you will want to keep these sheets. You'll just use the extra ones because you'll only need 4 to make the rose. You'll just use the extra ones for, I'm hoping we'll get time to do the stem and the leaves here. We're going to aim obviously just for getting the rose made, but hopefully I'm hoping we'll have time to do the leaves and the stem. And that's what you'll use these extra little bits for. So set those to the side. Now you have nice triangles here that are squares. So from here, you have one big triangle. You're going to fold it into a second. And then again into a third. So you have these little triangles. And you're going to do that for all of them. Once again, they don't have to be perfectly aligned. The nice thing about a rose is it comes from nature, which means it's imperfect as well. So it does not have to be exact. Okay, I'll give everybody a second to catch up on that. So now that everybody's got 4 little triangles that like to burst open like that, you're gonna cut them with the point, down. You're gonna cut them kind of like you would a snowflake, except you're gonna do a petal shape. That's where your scissors are gonna come in. So it's gonna look something like this. Once again, this is the folded seam here. I don't know what to call it. What do you call this? The fold, yeah. So it opens like this. That way, when you open it, like that. And you're going to do that for all 4 again. Make them all the same size. Like I said, they don't have to be super uniform or anything. You just want to make them so that they're, yeah, you just trim off the top a little bit and curve it out. That makes sense. See, I made that one a little funny, but that'll be okay. Okay. Now everybody should have 4, and you're just going to unfold them so that you get your nice little flower looking thing. Okay. Now with your 4 flowers, this is where it's going to get a little bit technical. So the first one, you're going to take your scissors, you're going to cut along one of the seam lines here up to the point, and you're only going to cut 3/4 of the petal off. So that it leaves this little extra segment here. So you should have, comes with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 petals. You should have 7.25 petals on this first one when you're done. And you don't need to keep this little extra bit that can go in your trash. Your second one, you're going to cut a whole petal out. So you do the same as you did the first time, cutting down to the center, and cut a whole petal this time. And you are going to want to keep that one petal that you cut out. For the third one, you're going to do the same, cut down to the center along one of the lines, and you're going to take 2 petals out this time in one piece. You want them to be in one piece, 2 petals together, and then 6 left. And you're going to keep that. And then you're probably going to be able to guess what I'm going to say for the last one. It's 3. So you cut down to the center and take out 3 petals. You're going to keep that as well. So that when you're done, you should have the one with the 0.25 petal here, one with a whole petal missing, one with 2, one with 3 missing, and then the leftover 3, the leftover 2, and the leftover 1. And those are going to be our layers once we get started here. So you can kind of set those aside. We're gonna start with the 7.25 one first. Might want to put something underneath so you don't glue the table, but this is where your glue stick's going to come in. So everybody get their glue stick. So you're just going to glue along that 0.25 edge there and just glue it behind the other petal so that it overlaps like that. So then it looks like a whole flower again. I like to kind of go through and crease them the opposite way so that it kind of sits nicely and open like that. And you're just going to continue that pattern going over all of them. You're going to glue the whole petal of the next one behind another petal. So this one that's missing the one, you're just going to glue that petal over the top of the other. Like so. And you're just going to continue on with that pattern, taking the one with the 2 missing, gluing one side of the petal, gluing it to the back of the other. So you get a little smaller one each time. Taking the one with the 3. And once you get to the one with the 3 petals that were cut out that were left over, this one you're only going to glue along the edge. You're not going to do the whole overlapping petal thing like the other ones have been. Similar to the first one we did, where it's just a little seam. And that looks like that. So with the one with the 3 cutout petals, you're just going to glue along the seam. So I guess that's not making sense too much. You're just going to glue a little bit, just enough so that it stays together in a cone-like shape, but not so much like these ones, how you were gluing a whole petal to another petal. It's just going to be enough to keep it together. So you still kind of have 3 petals within this one. So for the next one with the little cutout of 2 petals here, you're going to take your rock candy stick for the first time. We're going to use this to kind of curl it. It just kind of makes it easier. It's not super necessary, but you're going to loosely wrap these petals around it, just enough. And then you're going to kind of uncurl it. Super loosely. It's not meant to stay curved. It's just more so when you're gluing it together, it wants to stay together easier than if they were flat. Doing good. Okay, so then you're gonna, like the last one, just put a little bit of glue on the edge here. And then take these edges and attach them. They're a little bit finicky, and you're gonna get basically a cone. You're probably going to have to mess with it a little bit, get it to stay. It's okay if it doesn't have a perfect point. It's okay if it has a gap a little bit. That won't matter later on. So you have a nice little cone. Got it? Cool. Okay, just going to make sure my glue holds up there. Okay, and then the last little petal you don't have to do anything with right now, but you're still going to need it, so just set it aside for later. So now you've got all your layers. Oh my goodness. That kind of gets small on screen. Okay, don't need this piece of paper anymore. So now we're going to start layering. That's the fun part. So you're going to take the biggest one, the one with the small edge, the 7.25 one, and that's going to be your starting one. I kind of like to mess with the creases so that it sits open and even. I don't know if that makes sense, but because some of the creases like to point inwards, so if you just go through with your nail and kind of smooth those out, they will sit properly. So now you're going to take your little tacky glue. If anybody has a glue gun, it's probably too late to tell you this, but a glue gun is better for this just because it sets up so quickly, but we couldn't exactly give everybody a glue gun, so we're going with tacky glue. It'll work fine. You'll just have to be a little more finicky with it. And you're just going to take, I have a little squeeze bottle, but you should have a little container with tacky glue in it. If you got yours from Ashland, I don't know if they added any tacky glue, hopefully so. And you're just going to put a little bit in the base here, kind of around, not just at the point, but around it. And you're going to take the next biggest size, kind of like Russian dolls. We're going to start stacking them. And you're just going to put it so the point matches with the glue. And you kind of want to offset the petals here. You don't want them to all, line up like this. You want them to be a little bit off-centered, just like a rose would be. Sometimes they don't want to do it. There we go. It's pretty off-centered. And just give that a second to kind of exist, set up. You're gonna take your next layer and do the same thing you just did. Put some glue in the base of this one. A little bit in a circle so that the edges are there. Whoops. Oh gosh, I'm hitting the camera. There we go. And you're just gonna nest the next one in there. Off center so the petals don't line up like the previous. So now that you're 3 layers in, this is where your other rock candy stick, because you should have 2, is going to come in handy. You're just going to kind of force the end of the rock candy stick through the base of these. So just poke it through and pull it down. And then you're going to add a little bit of glue to the base, right where the head of the stick is going to land. And then pull it through so that the little ball sits nice in the middle and has some glue on it. Oh gosh, the camera isn't high enough up for me to stand up completely, but you can kind of see, yeah. So from here, you're gonna take your scissors, set aside your rose for a second. You're gonna take your scissors and take your next layer, the one with 4 petals, and you're just gonna cut about a 1/2 inch off the bud here. I'm not good with measurements, so that may have been a little bit more. It doesn't have to be exact, but just enough off the bud so that they start to kind of layer inwards instead of outwards. And you're gonna put glue around the opening, and you're just gonna plop it right down there in the middle so that it nests like the other ones. So for the next one, you're gonna take the 3 cone here, and you're gonna cut off even more of it. So cut off more than you did last time. I'm gonna cut like a whole inch off. And do the same, putting glue around the outside of the opening. And oh gosh. And just putting it in there. Like so. Sorry, it's so close up. Camera angle's a little funny. Not like that. We're almost done with the hard part. After this, it's pretty smooth sailing. Because then we just get to go through and curl all of them, and that's kind of the fun part. Okay, so not quite the last, but second to last. You've got your cone looking one here. You're going to cut even more off from the last one. I cut probably 1.5 inches almost, so that it's just a little short layer. And then you're going to take your glue, do the same as the others, putting it around the opening. And nesting it inside. Whoop, hit the camera. That way, the reason we cut the ends off is so that, like I said, it kind of goes inward, because if you were just leaving the whole cone, they would start to stick out really funny. So you want them to nest kind of inside each other so that they look like a rose. So you're going to take your last little petal here that we saved, and you're going to take your other rock candy stick, or if you don't have the rock candy sticks, a thin pen would work. Or any kind of, this same diameter. You're just gonna curl it really tightly, not like the last one. You want it to be tight. You want it to be conforming to the stick, and you're gonna kind of roll it between your fingers a couple times because that'll help it keep the shape. From the side, sorry, yeah, I probably should have stated that. From the side, you're not gonna start from the end. You're gonna start from the side of the petal, like so. Just kind of roll that. And then you're just going to pull the stick out so that it kind of still leaves it with its curl. Maybe mess with it a little bit. So now you're going to cut it. Probably you're going to cut pretty much most of it off so that there's maybe an inch of the curl left. You're going to want to go for the top, the piece that doesn't have, you know, the tip or the end of the petal here. You're going to want to go for the top of the curl so that you get that nice little guy there. So once you have your little curl here, you're going to take your glue again. And you're going to put a dollop. If you have the rock candy stick, you're going to go for on top of the ball. If you don't, just the center of the rose. So you see I've got a dollop of glue on the head of the rock candy stick there. Just going to take my little curl and plop it in the middle there. Kind of mess with it, maybe unfurl it a little bit so that it, see if I can get this to go up any higher, so that it kind of imitates those unfurled petals at the middle of a rose. And since we're using tacky glue and not hot glue, you're going to want to kind of keep an eye on it because it will want to fall to one side. So you'll want to keep adjusting it periodically just to make sure it dries centered. Kind of a pain, but I wish we could give everybody a hot glue gun. Just like that. And that is your rose. Like I said, we're going to go through and then curl all the petals, and then we'll get into hopefully having enough time to do the stem and the petals, or not the petals, the leaves. There's another name for those things. Since your rose will still be wet, you know, the glue in the layers won't have had time to dry fully. You're going to want to be gentle when curling the petals so that it doesn't start to pull apart. You know, it's not the end of the world if these start to push down, or if your rose kind of pulls out, you can just kind of stuff it back together and it'll be fine. So now that's where, this is why I included, you know, a second rock candy stick. It's for the curling. This is going to be kind of interesting to try to do on screen. I tend to hold it between my knees, like put the stick between your knees to kind of pinch it. Let's see if I can kind of show you what that's going to make it fall off the table, but you see, kind of like that, so that you can have both hands to do the curling. I will still show you on the table, but that's just a tip for everybody who's not having everybody watch. So you're just going to start with the outermost petal. Take the, what do you call it, the length of the stick here, and just curl from the top of the petal down to where it's, you know, cut. And just kind of roll it. I like to do 1, 2, 3 times, maybe a little bit more depending on how you feel. Then pull the stick out and you can kind of fluff the petal. And then it will be nice and curled, like so. And you're just going to go around and do that for all of them. Kind of the long, tedious part, but I think it's the most fun because then you really start to see the rose taking shape. See, I've got the first layer done there. I'm gonna take a sip of water. Important to hydrate. Remember to drink water. And then you just start with the next layer. Take your time. go. I know, I love raw candy sticks. I just stumbled across them when originally I started making these roses without the stick. They were like everybody who's just making them flat. And then I just happened across, we had a bunch of raw candy sticks in the craft department of the library. I don't know why, we must have made raw candy at some point, and realized that would be perfect. And they've been helping me make roses ever since. You can make a bouquet of these like the program title suggests. It just, you would want to use wire instead of a stick so that they can kind of, you know, I don't know what you call it, do a bundle. You can do a bundle better. When there are a bunch of sticks, you know, they can't really hold together the same way. So I have made a bouquet before, with like 20 of these roses. You can imagine how long that took me. And what I did was I took little wooden beads and I attached them to floral wire so that you would still have the ball in the center, but then you have the flexibility of the wire so that you can angle them like you would have in a bouquet. Once you get to this layer, the second to last layer, not the little curl inside, it's pretty hard to curl those, but I just kind of like to curl the top of them, which I'll show you when I get there. Let's see, this one I just did in here, I really only curled the top of it, just enough so that it kind of mimics the others, but it's not like you're going really deep down into the rose to curl it like all the other petals. Just a little bit of it. And I'm not even going to try to get these ones in here so that you have a rose like that. I think we're going to have enough time to do the stem. We've got about 30 more minutes yet till we have to get off. So we will have enough time to do the stem and leaves. So you can do that without it being curled if anybody wants to wait to curl it later. Okay, so now to move on to making the leaves and the stem, this is more technical, I think, out of everything. You're going to take those extra bits that you cut off of your squares at the beginning. If you got your kits from Ashland and they were already squares, if you have any extra squares, you can use it. You just need some form of paper, basically. I mean, it doesn't even have to be book paper if you don't want it to be. I just like to use the scraps, and it kind of fits with the uniformity of it all being book paper. So you're going to take your extra little scrap and you're just going to cut 2 strips lengthwise going with the text. Thickness isn't super important, but you do want them to be kind of on the thinner side, maybe a centimeter. I'm not good with measurements, 2-3 centimeters thick. I typically only need 2, but you can cut 3. This is just going to be what we're going to wrap the stem with. 3 just to be safe. You're going to kind of set those aside. You have your 3, put those up there so you can see them. Then you're going to take another one of the extra pages, fold it in half. You're going to cut some leaf shapes. So once again, this is kind of subjective, but do an oval. Kind of like that. And this is going to give you 2 of them. You can kind of break them apart. They don't have to be super perfect. And you're going to do that for 2. The second one I like to make bigger because when you look at a rose, they have petals in 3s, and the 2 on the sides tend to be smaller and the one in the middle is bigger. So you're only going to need one of these, even though you have two. So you have 3 leaves here. And then lastly, you're going to fold another one in half so you have a double layer, and you're going to cut the stem. So I'm going to show you what it is. It's basically a 3-pronged kind of structure here. So cut like that. Whoop. What did it do there? Okay, there we go. You're going to go 1 offshoot to this side, cut, go back, 1 shoot up the middle, cut, go back, and 1 shoot off the other side. Here. You'll kind of get what I'm doing when I show it to you. Like this. And you'll want to leave it, because it's attached to the other side, you'll want to leave that intact. We're going to glue these 2 pieces together so that they have more stability and are sturdier. So that's, I find this to be kind of like the most difficult step, I think. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said, you just want a little 3-pronged thingy that's going to hold your leaves. You want the leaves to be, this is probably what, 2 inches in length. Not even 1, a little bit less than 1 in width, at least for the small one. And then you'll want the middle one to be a bit bigger, just a tad. I mean, you can make the leaves as big as you want. Kind of just what you think looks proportionate to your size. Those are just the measurements I like to use so that they fit with the rose. Oh, and then there is one last little thing. I almost forgot. Just out of any little piece of scrap that you have, you're going to want to cut little triangles, long triangles like this. And you're going to want 4 of those. And just boop, and cut those in half. But you have 4 little triangle thingies. Those are going to go under your rose and be these things. So set those aside, and this is all the stuff you're going to need to do the stem and leaves. So you're going to take your little stem thing that's still attached, and you're just going to put glue on one side and glue it to itself so that it stays together. Like that. Like I said, that's just to make it a little bit sturdier so that it'll not just flop with the weight of the leaves. Okay, now you can kind of cap your glue stick. I probably should have done that a long time ago. It's just been air drying. You're going to take your first leaf. This is the fun part. This is really optional. I mean, this is going, you know, the extra mile kind of a thing. But we're going to do the texture of the leaves. So I fold it in half. And then I just go along and make really tiny, let's see if I can get it. Oh gosh, close to the camera here. Really tiny little, this is so hard to do while looking at my hands. Angled cuts along the sides here. And once you do it one way, then you kind of go back from an opposite direction and just periodically take little chips out. Can't really see it super good on camera, but that creates that kind of serrated edge that rose leaves have. Like that. Like I said, kind of an optional thing. It's my least favorite part of making these, because it's just kind of a pain to cut little tiny bits off like that, but it looks really cool, I think. So you just go through and do that to all 3 of your leaves, really tiny little cuts. Oh my God. And it's okay if this takes you a little bit of time. I'm just, you know, practiced at it. It used to take me a really long time to do the texturing on the leaves, because it's kind of a pain. hold on. See, this side didn't get much cutting. It looks like I'm gonna go through and change that. Once again, luckily it's nature, so it doesn't have to be super perfect. In fact, imperfection's better, mimics reality better. Cut your fingers when doing this, it would be easy. Okay. Now you have your 3 leaves textured. So now you're going to go through and you're going to attach them to your little prong thingy here. Take your glue stick back out. And you're going to take, once again, the smaller ones go on the sides. Just gluing the tip of the prong to the back of the leaf. Like that. Make sure it stays. And you're going to go about and do that for all 3. Putting the biggest one in the middle. And then you have your leaves. I kind of like to go through and bend them a little bit just so that they kind of, you know, do what feels natural, what makes it look most natural in your mind. Now we're going to set that off to the side for a minute, let those leaves dry, copy the glue stick. Now we're going to start the fun part, which is wrapping the stem, which, and by fun, I mean not really. Good. Everybody take one of your little strips that you cut off earlier. And this is where you're going to need a little bit more glue. I hope that everybody has enough glue that was included in kits. You're just going to want to put a little strip going down. And this is mostly going to be by feel. You're just going to start wrapping it. It's probably going to take a second. You're going to get glue all over your fingers to kind of get it to stick, so that you're almost like decoupaging it so that it's a little bit saturated in glue and makes it easier to manhandle a bit. And it's going to do this thing. If you start to get a natural crease like this, it's fine. In fact, that's better if you have it like that. It kind of mimics those bumps in rose stems, I think. So as you're curling it down, it might want to fold a little bit and just let it do it. Just keep adding glue. When you get about an inch down, like I just hit, I'm about to hit here, that's when we're going to wrap our leaves in. So that's going to be also a fun part. So that's when you're going to take this and you're going to kind of wrap, this is so hard to put into words, wrap the little end of your leaf around with some glue, always with some glue, so that then you can take this and kind of wrap it under, oh gosh, I'm not doing a good job of this time. Wrap it under words are not functioning now that I'm actually struggling. I want to get farther enough away from the rose so that the leaves aren't brushing it. So I'm going to wrap it a little bit farther down here. And then I'm going to take some more glue. And Oh my. It's okay if you struggle, because look, I am struggling. Okay. We're just going to kind of wrap the bit around the end of the leaves so that it's sturdy and won't come off, because it's literally wrapped under the piece that you used to wrap the stem. That's not my best one, but it'll have to do. And then you're just going to keep going, keep wrapping down. You're going to run out of paper here, and that's when you'll take another one and wrap it in. Just going down, stem, and wrapping. Some more glue. Whoop, and see, I just ripped that one in half. That's okay. We can just keep going with more glue. More glue is better here. Like I said, we're kind of Mod Podging it, decoupaging it. What's the other thing? Paper macheing it, all those types of crafts where you just use wet paper. Oh no. My hands are covered in glue. That's fine. That's normal. I keep ripping it. That's nice. You don't even have to make it to the end, quite honestly. I'm probably going to cut it once I get to the end here. Yeah, okay, there we go. All the way to the end. Add a little bit more glue to reinforce that bottom piece. Just getting our fingers dirty there. And you have a wrapped stem with leaves. Nice, okay. And this part that is not wrapped, I'm not even gonna bother with it. I'm just gonna chop the stick. Nice. There you go, kind of, I'm gonna do some of the hand rubbing to roll some of the glue off my hands. Sticky fingers. Now from here on out, it's really smooth sailing. We have one step basically left. We're gonna attach the sepals, and then your rose is going to be done. So those are those little triangles you had earlier. You can do this with either type of glue, really. I'm gonna use the glue stick. You're just gonna get the base of it. And you're just gonna, see if I can do this on camera. Stick it to the underside of the rose. At the base, where the stem is. Oh gosh, there goes the glue stick. And you're not gonna be gluing the whole length of it. You're only gonna be putting glue on the base of the triangle. That way that you can go back and curl these down after we've got them all attached. So, putting more glue, and you're just gonna do them in like quads. So every fourth, one pointing in each direction. Okay. So once you've got all four attached there, press them down so that the glue holds. And they all look like that. And then you're just going to gently go through. And what I just do is I use the warmth from my fingers, and you kind of just thumb them, curl them down like this. You're not going to want to make any drastic bends or anything. It's really just a gentle curve like that. And then I like to go through and also just the very tip, kind of pinch it so that it kind of goes like whoop, like that. And you're going to just do that for all of them. How much you want them to stick down is kind of up to you. However you feel like a rose should look. Go through and just boop. And there you have it. Okay, your rose should look something like that.